Human, because far too often a lot of the interactions are on social media where you don't even feel that the person is even real. Let me adjust the camera. Also, I will make sure that if you guys would like, I'll have a summary of this event so that you guys can have it for reference in the future. All right. So my name is Greg Hamilton. I have been training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for over 20 years under the icons and legends on that wall. There's a few of them there, starting with the gentleman on the left who created judo back in the 1800s, and fast forward to the gentleman on the right who's Carlos Machado, my professor, instructor, friend, brother, mentor, great human being, and that's what we honorably represent his name, Carlos Machado. His academy is about 30 minutes away from here, and we're very blessed to represent a truly iconic lineage and just a name that is rooted all the way back to the founders of judo back in Japan. One of the biggest blessings for me personally has been to experience just the impact that jiu-jitsu has had on my life. It's been one of the most profound things, aside from being a father of two daughters, you know, and achieving the level of black belt in jiu-jitsu is one of the most elite things and difficult things that you will ever achieve in your life. And we have students who are attorneys and doctors and so forth, and their progression through jiu-jitsu or their achievement to upper ranks is, for them, the biggest achievements, even above their, you know, the fact that they're physicians. So my first black belt son is Professor Philip Bullock. He is an amazing human being. Sure, he may look scary with the tattoos and all that.
I'm not a lowlife, I promise.
This is, but you're sure. No, I'm just kidding. No,
I'm for today.
Listen, I need aggressors. I need somebody to be able to. We have a Bedford PD coming in and just to be able to have them present as well. You know, we're tightly knit into the community, but Professor Philip has been doing martial arts for even longer than I have. He's been doing jiu-jitsu for what, 17 years?
17 years jiu-jitsu.
And martial arts?
27 years next week.
27 years. So congratulations. This is by far the best kids jiu-jitsu and self-defense instructor ever. And I've seen a lot. I consider myself pretty good until I met him, and then I realized he is much better. For somebody who doesn't have children, his ability to communicate and inspire and bring the best out of kids is incredible. And in our kids jiu-jitsu program, a lot of our classes are at least half girls.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So next is one of my students, Justin. Justin also may look a little bit scary. However, Justin works for the Bureau of Prisons, and he keeps them all in line. So Justin is law enforcement. Clara Boyle, she is a trauma nurse. Am I correct in that?
Critical care, yeah.
Critical care nurse.
What isn't trauma? You know what I'm saying?
Critical care. So, you know, the line of work that these two individuals have definitely they benefit from jiu-jitsu. And then you'll hear some stories that Clara will share with you. Christian, another one of my very dedicated students. His wife Michelle is here also, who's also a student. So you guys are kind of sprinkled in there, peppered in there. So we will be utilizing everybody here in order to be able to demonstrate what we, what our objective is. So I made some notes because I like to be organized. And this is women's self-defense and survival and tactics seminar. So let's have a seat, guys. And I'll sit down and I'll speak a little bit more on script. I'd cross my legs, but my knees won't handle the leg cross. Okay. So first and foremost, thank you for making time to be here. I think it's very important for you guys to understand that, you know, self-defense is more so mindset. It's much more keeping yourself out of bad situations versus how to fight out of bad situations. Secondary, obviously, is how to fight out of bad situations, but the primary goal is to keep yourself out of harm's way. So we'll be talking about, you know, some tactics that are very effective that even if none of you want to return, John, Amber, come on over and hang out over here, two more of my students. And we promise that you will leave here more empowered than when you arrived. Even if you never come back here and say, I don't want to learn jiu-jitsu, even though the jiu-jitsu is the most effective martial art, you will still be much more empowered when you leave than when you arrive. So I've introduced our students here. We have John and Amber. Come over here, guys. To the side. as a father of two daughters, one of whom is in attendance. Where's my daughter Giselle? Where's she at? Giselle, how about you come over here?
She's so shy.
She's shy, but she's 13, and you know. And I'll tell you like this. You know, as a father of two daughters, I have also a 9-year-old daughter. She's going to be 10 in a few weeks. Empowering women, girls, and giving you the tools you need in order to be able to have a fighting chance in a situation where you're faced with aggression. And I'll share statistics with you that will be probably very unpleasant for you guys to hear. But that's just the unfortunate reality that we're faced with because we live in a very twisted and evil world. And you have to be vigilant. There's no real in between. And we are here to achieve that goal. So, and I'll be, let's just say, considering we have young kids also, think of it this way here. Why is Jiu-Jitsu so effective? Jiu-Jitsu focuses on, obviously, defending yourself standing, but primarily what happens when you get put on the ground and to have solutions for that. There's a lot of martial arts that are arts. They're very, you know, they're fun, and karate and taekwondo, aikido, apkido, all kinds of different martial arts. But the problem is that when they're applied in reality, they don't seem to be effective. Jiu-Jitsu is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or Gracie Jiu-Jitsu because the founders of Jiu-Jitsu really are the Gracies. So you have the founder of Judo, second is Representative Black Belt went to Brazil, and those two gentlemen on the right in the colored photos, that's Grandmaster Haley on the right, Gracie and Grandmaster Carlos Gracie. They are both deceased, but they have probably, I don't know, between them 40, 50 children that have spread Jiu-Jitsu throughout the world, one of many of whom, and Master Carlos is a nephew of the Gracie family. So the reality is this: sexual assault doesn't really happen standing. All the standard martial arts, fantastic. But the reality is, what happens when somebody just unexpectedly throws you on the ground, gets on top of you, and wants to have their way with you? What do? Nothing that you learn standing will be effective, unfortunately. What will be effective is for you to have the proper mindset that all you need is a fighting chance. And we'll definitely get into that, because what Jiu-Jitsu teaches you is to have the mindset. It teaches you that these are very uncomfortable positions, but I will find comfort within discomfort, and I will implement calmly, systematically solutions to these physical obstacles that I'm faced with. And many of them could be the difference between life and death, or life and potentially being scarred for life. And you know, that's the sad reality. So sexual assault does not happen standing, which is why Jiu-Jitsu is incredibly effective, and which is what the aggressor wants to do. They want to get you, take you, throw you on the ground, have the way. What do you do then? Okay? One of the most important things in life in general, especially when it comes to self-defense, is setting and enforcing boundaries. Why? Think of parenting. Isn't it about setting and enforcing boundaries? Look, don't do that. Don't do that. Or, you know, and they continue, especially when they're younger, like him or her. You know? But as they get still about setting boundaries. Still about setting boundaries, especially when they get of age and understand that boundaries exist. Come home at a certain time, do this, do that, these chores, that, do homework, school, it's all boundaries. But those are much easier to enforce, even though that some have difficulty enforcing. But boundary setting, so setting and enforcing boundaries is absolutely everything. Why do you have to enforce boundaries? What good are boundaries that are set that are not enforced? It's completely useless. Okay? I don't want to come up with various examples, but look at the southern border. There's a boundary, but it's not enforced, and all of a sudden you have a lot of millions of reasons coming over here that potentially are a threat to everybody here. And statistically, unfortunately, it doesn't matter who's coming across the border. What matters is that just the reality of statistical, just being a victim is quite scary. Okay, so setting boundaries, enforcing boundaries. Why? Because when you enforce boundaries, especially when it comes to self-defense situations, you are able to identify the intentions of that particular aggressor if they cross those boundaries, so you can take immediate action and not have to be paralyzed with fear or weight or thinking, what do I do? But before any of that happens, it potentially could be too late. So setting boundaries, enforcing boundaries. And I keep repeating that because most people, a lot of men, mostly women, have a hard time setting boundaries, but enforcing boundaries. Just think of the touchy-feely friend or man or the husband of whoever that always likes to get too close to you, hug you, and you feel uncomfortable, but you don't want to be not nice, so you're like, oh, you know, you hug them and so forth, and then they give you that full hug, not, you know, sure, it's okay, you hug people, I give them a little bit of shoulder, a little maybe pat on the back, you know, but, you know, those are boundaries that are crossed, and oftentimes, predators begin to test boundaries that you set and how easily they can begin to push those boundaries and cross those boundaries. Ladies, thank you very much for coming. I apologize. I didn't see we have a Bedford PD here, and thank you very much. We have a lot of law enforcement students, as you see by those two pictures on the wall. Not some have left those departments, but we do teach a lot of law enforcement, and obviously law enforcement definitely needs jiu-jitsu in their lives. That's for sure, especially for that line of work. So. Setting boundaries and enforcing boundaries. So once you identify the intentions, then you can take proper action. And then what kind of aggressors are there? There are sexual predators, okay? And what do they want? What are their intentions? So we can speak in clear definition. Their intentions are to sexually assault you. And that's the bottom line. So the question is, you have to be able to identify, you know, what type of threat it is. Because there's also the potential threat of somebody who just wants to rob you and take your material possessions. Now you have to be of the mindset that you will effectively exchange whatever material possessions you have in exchange for getting out of that situation safely. That's it. There's no material possession that you have is worth you potentially getting hurt in ways that are going to be, God forbid, maybe fatal. Okay, so you give up the possessions, whatever they may be, favorite watch or purse or whatever, take it and go. Because they don't want to sexually assault you, they just want your stuff, they want to take, go. That's it. They don't want any issues. Okay, sometimes you can just take it and then they run. Simple. Okay? And unfortunately, then there's just the psychopath who just wants to hurt you just for the pleasure of hurting you. That's already a whole different story, which is where, you know, you have to be able to understand that your self-defense ability to apply techniques that will get you out of those situations are absolutely vital. But mostly, you will probably deal with a sexual predator who just wants to victimize you in one way or another. So remember that a peaceful man, okay, a peaceful person, okay, is not a good person. Most of the people that have proclaimed that they're nice and peaceful have been some of the weakest and fastest to stab you in the back, okay, when you least expect it, okay? A peaceful man, let's say, is a man or woman who is trained in skilled violence, but has the control and restraint not to use it. There you have the two dynamics between, you know, peaceful and violent. Because everybody, I know that everybody here, including my daughter, okay, God forbid, especially my female students, I know, Michelle, come on up, I'm sorry, I didn't want to, I know that if God forbid a bad situation happens, I know that they have a fighting chance. And remember, a sexual aggressor, a predator, does not want a woman that's going to fight back. They want to paralyze her with fear and force her to comply, submit, and that's it. And oftentimes it's that fear that paralyzes you. You don't know what to do, and that's it. And you have to have a fighting chance. Training jiu-jitsu every day, or a few times a week, helps you understand that the situations that are uncomfortable. Life is all about being in uncomfortable situations, but you have to have a fighting chance. You can't give up. Life is a lot more crushing. It's a lot more deceptive because it's not like you have a person on top of you just crushing you. You have life that is slowly working its way and starts choking you, and then what do? You're not going to give up. You know what I'm saying? So that is setting boundaries, enforcing boundaries, and understanding and identifying the intentions of the aggressor. So, now, we're gonna go on a journey that probably will put everybody outside of the comfort zone, but unfortunately that's just the reality. You know, one of the things that's beautiful about training jiu-jitsu, for kids, for adults, is that you learn how to be comfortable in situations that are uncomfortable. You learn how to be calm when you're uncomfortable, when you're in bad situations. On the mat, they're just a lot more realistic because they happen more immediately. In life, they happen a little bit more on a subtle way, and then all of a sudden you're in a bad situation. But again, just because you're uncomfortable does not mean that you have to give up. You have to find comfort within that discomfort, and you have to apply solutions to the problem. So whenever you're faced with a problem, the most important thing is identify the problem, focus on the solution, and keep moving forward. You focus on that problem, you're gonna dig yourself in a bigger hole, you're not gonna have a solution. But this is all mindset. So you see, it's not necessarily all techniques that we learn, they're all rooted in your ability and mentally to be able to gather yourself and orientate yourself in order to be able to apply these solutions, okay? So, but, you know, we have to address reality here. So, I know that all of you are here for one of the following reasons. You either have been a victim, know a victim, don't want your loved ones to be victims, or you're here because you want to be empowered so that you won't be a statistic or a victim. However, the statistics I'm going to read to you, you know, especially for everybody with daughters, it's quite a frightening reality. So here we go. So this is a real talk statistic. So imagine this. 1 in 5 women in the United States experienced, completed, or attempted rape during their lifetime. 1 in 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's your statistic. 1 in 5. Okay, we won't go into detail who has, who hasn't. 1 in 5. 20%. Nationwide, 81% of women reported experiencing some sort of form of sexual harassment or assault. Sexual harassment ultimately leads to assault because a big part of sexual harassment is constantly testing the boundaries of the woman to see how far that particular predator will be able to get and go, and understand that maybe that they'll comply or they'll force or whatever it may be, okay? 81% of women reported experiencing some sort of sexual harassment and assault or assault in their lifetime. 80%, that's 4 out of 5 women. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 out of 5 in a lifetime, okay? Almost 1 in 4 undergraduate women experience sexual assault or some type of misconduct, okay? They did a survey of 33 major universities. 25% of these women in college, okay? And about half, okay, just like 51% of female victims of rape reported being raped by an intimate partner or by an acquaintance or family, okay? What an insane and twisted reality we live in, okay? And one effective solution is to learn how to have a fighting chance and how to get out of these issues. And one of the worst ones here, 1 in 3 female victims of completed or attempted rape experienced it for the first time between the ages of 11 and 17. 1 in 3, by the time you're 17. So for everybody who's between 11 and 17 here, including my daughter, 1 in 3. What a crazy statistic. And by the time that 1 in 3 gets to college, I think it goes up to just almost like 50%. It's absolutely insane. So, one of the most important things is for especially teenage girls having to already deal with boys and going out and having more kind of responsibilities and going out and hanging out with friends and so forth. You know, it's very, very important for them to understand that when we are not around to help them solve issues and make proper decisions, and they get into problems, that they have a fighting chance. It's really about a fighting chance, but for them to learn how to set boundaries, okay? Nobody taught me how to set boundaries, and I thought I was just being nice when I was younger. You know what jiu-jitsu taught me? How to set boundaries, how to enforce boundaries. That was one of the first things, because it's life-changing, and it's incredibly empowering. Once you know, you set the boundary, you enforce it. It'll change even the way that you parent. You know, I mean, not that you're gonna choke your children or joint lock them or anything, okay? So, listen, to each their own, you know what I mean? To each their own, okay? So, like I said, being a father of two daughters, for me, this is a top priority. Because what are you left to do with these types of statistics? Okay, continue to potentially be a victim or a statistic, or become a victim or a statistic, or do you learn some kind of technique, get some sort of training in order to be able to have a fighting chance? I mean, think about it this way, and I make no promises. Not one seminar ever, including this one, will be the end-all be-all solution for, God forbid, what you may face in some sort of situation out there, okay, with a sexual predator, with an aggressor, with whatever it be. It would be like, I don't know how to bake. Okay? I don't know how to bake. I've tried baking, it didn't really work out. Now, can I see a 60-second reel on Instagram of some sort of beautiful pastry that maybe I'd want to make for my daughter and bake it? Yeah. Would I be able to make it? No. I would try, okay? But one time? No. However, with practice and learning the fundamentals of baking, not that I want to, however, I may need to eventually, you know? Okay, I have learned how to cook. I started because of those lockdowns, and I started, cooking. I learned how to, so now with practice, I'm okay at cooking, right? I mean, really. So the point is, everything requires practice. This is why, our students come in, train, have a incredibly positive impact on the mind, on the body, on the soul. You're around amazing people. I don't personally like to go to the gym and lift weights, and this is, and I love my students, and for me, there's nothing more gratifying and purposeful than to see our students be able to achieve their goals, perform at their highest potential, and just become, empowered by what they learn here. And we have countless stories. Clara will be one to share with you about how she used what she learned here, and different situations, and I was also bullied when I was younger, just because I didn't understand. My parents didn't put me into anything and so forth. So, all of that kind of snowballs and has a very interesting effect on life. So, self-defense, okay, consists of two parts: verbal, physical. Okay. What is, verbal self-defense? Okay, what is verbal self-defense? Verbal self-defense is setting boundaries and enforcing boundaries. You don't physically enforce boundaries, you set the boundaries verbally, you enforce them verbally. Now, whether or not whoever you're setting the boundaries to crosses those boundaries, you identify their intentions, and then you're able to take the appropriate action once you understand what their intentions are. Whether they maybe want to physically assault you, whether they just want to take something from you, you begin to already react properly, so that you don't have to think, you don't have to be scared. You have to understand that you need to get out of this bad situation. Sometimes getting out of the situation and running, that's it. You're not here to fight, you know what I'm saying? For me personally, I have 20 plus years of training. I don't mind fighting, but I don't want to have to fight somebody. I don't know if they have a knife or whatever. I want to de-escalate any situation potentially that's going to turn into a problematic one, okay? So, if the attacker crosses those boundaries and you set and enforce, then you instantly identify their intentions. But the only way to identify the attacker's intentions is to set the boundaries, okay? So I'll give you an example with Professor Phillip here. I'm at Kroger's, okay? It's night, I go to that Kroger's across the street, okay? And I'm walking with the cart. Remember, always return the cart back to the car return, okay? That really says a lot about your character, okay? There's people that just leave the carts there. Man, they're probably, okay, I don't even want to. So, let's say, and look, situational awareness. Okay, so what is situational awareness? It's being aware of your surrounding and situations that are going on around you, right? What do I mean by that? When you are walking out somewhere, such as getting out of your car, before you get out of the car, check your perimeter. Understand who you're parked next to. I mean, everybody knows, don't park next to that white van. On their right side with the sliding door. Especially don't park next to that white van if it's got that little window in the back that protrudes, kind of like a little fish tank bubble. You know that's trouble, and it's tinted completely black. You can't even see in or out. Okay? Don't park next to that van, all right? But don't just get out of the car and just start walking. I always check, it's just natural instinct. Whether you're getting gas, whether you're going to get groceries, whether you're getting out of the store to get groceries, okay? So the scenario is situational awareness, okay? Setting boundaries, enforcing boundaries. So I am with my cart. Now, I am not looking at my phone, looking down. The big problem with phones is you're looking down. You don't see peripherally anything. When I look at Christian, I can see probably peripherally right about this wide right here, okay? So I can see Philip moves out of my line of sight right about here, okay? I can barely see him at the corner of my eye, but I see all of this peripheral space here, okay? So when you're walking, okay, a big part of how you walk, how you even stand, is gonna send a message to the aggressor. Are you weak or are you strong? Because you know what the aggressor wants, regardless of what type of aggressor, they want to identify the weak person. If you're standing there all hunched over and you look weak and you look kind of like hobbly and so forth, you potentially are inviting the aggressor into acts that they would otherwise avoid in the presence of strength. Okay? And they're all over. This is a fundamental concept of bullying. Okay? Bullying in schools is a horrible epidemic. But who do the bullies prey on? The athletes, the football players, the wrestlers? No! They're going to identify that weak kid and they're going to exploit their weakness because at some point in their lives they were treated in ways that they want to replicate and take out on that particular person that they identify as weak. So just posture alone, okay? Posture alone can be the difference between the aggressor who's watching you and you don't even know could potentially save you from even that being a situation. Now, the other thing is posture, awareness, tone, your ability to project with your voice, and not be like, hey, hold on. And we'll get to this in a second here. And if you notice, what are my hands doing? A lot of people, when they get nervous, they start to do this, they put their hands in their pockets and so forth. And these are all nervous signs that they don't know what to do. They get fidgety and so forth. I speak with my hands because I just speak with my hands. But I keep my hands in a place where I can begin to immediately use them to defend myself. Especially when somebody begins to enter your space and your instincts, which you have to listen to and you cannot ignore. Whenever I ignore my instincts, I always get into some sort of issue. Okay, so I've learned to trust my instincts. It's a God speaking to you and saying, hey, let me tell you something. And I'm like, nah, what do you know? And then like, I'll show you. Okay? So posture, tone of voice, where your hands are. Because if you notice, all of the hands here, and especially people like do this, or they put their hands in their pockets, or even that they're holding something. If you hold something, hold it to where, hold keys, have wallet, which you hold, you maim somebody with that thing, you know what I mean? Keys, hands, confident, strong, good posture, good tone. All right, I'm shopping cart. I see this guy. There's the back of my vehicle here. I see him at the peripheral of my eye. So what I'll do is I'll position myself this way, okay? And I see he's looking at me, okay? And I'm okay. And I'll say, hey, how you doing? Okay? Now, that is just a test to see his reaction. Now, if he's in any, how he responds, if he responds, sends a message to me, the degree of potentially what kind of threat he is, okay? So if I say, hey, how's it going? And he just says, oh, hey, how you doing? Like that. That's fine, I understand. Doesn't mean I'm dismissing the fact that he potentially could be a threat and he's disguising his intention, okay? So, I pull up and I'm getting, I would never do this. Never, because it is where we are least certain that we suffer most. Never turn your back on the threat. Never, ever, ever. Because there you can't see the potential threat and you are going to be in a world of suffering. Because it is where we are least, word to live by, it is where we are least certain that we suffer most. Okay? So, I'll put my car right here, I'll be here, and I will unload it, even if it's awkward, whichever way. Then I see him slowly moving there towards me. I say, do me a favor, just stop right there. Okay? How can I help? Do I know you?
No.
No. How can I help you?
I was seeing what's going on.
I appreciate that. But do me a favor. Go see what's going on over there. Because whatever it is that you're trying to do here, it's probably not going to work. So, now, here's the boundary. right? It's been set and enforced by don't move, don't, just stay right there, okay? Now, if he moves, let's say that's the line, that's the boundary, and I'm here, I'm already in a position, noticing my left foot's forward because that's like a fighting stance, okay? But I'm not gonna be all, hey, how can I help you? I don't want to be that, because then he may think, well, what does he think? Oh, I don't know how to fight. Now, like all of a sudden, and then they come and arrest you because like you were starting something with him. You know what I mean? Then he crosses that boundary, and I say, hey, do me a favor. Don't come any closer, okay? Because otherwise we're gonna have a problem. Now, the problem he's gonna have is that I'm always armed, okay? So I will move my left hand, and then I will draw no problem because I don't know what kind of threat he has, but I'm always watching where his hands are. Maybe he's got his hand behind his back. How do I know? Okay? If I'm backed up against the wall or whatever it may be, and maybe I'm not armed, okay, which is rare, but I have 20 years of plus training and I train every single day, so it's not like it's a problem for me, but I don't want him to pull out a knife and stab me. There's not much of a defense of him just trying to cut me, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't take a lot of training to be cut. But if he keeps moving towards me, stop, okay, and then you begin to already engage with the physical because it's two parts. It's verbal and physical. And there you already have no choice. It's going to be either he engages with you, you engage with them, but they violate your space, you have to be the first one to react. Okay? So that's just an example of setting a boundary, enforcing a boundary, and taking the proper action. Now, judging just by profiling him, now I know it's not popular to profile, but let me tell you something like that. If you're not profiling, okay, whoever the threat is, you are going to be completely, what? You're going to be uncertain. And you know what that uncertainty is going to lead to? It's going to lead to suffering. So you better be profiling, just by the look, because it could potentially save your life. Now, I could be wrong. He looks like a nice guy. Looking like, oh my God, wait, he even trains jiu-jitsu. I'm like less likely to be something. Maybe he recognized me from here or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But the potential is you have to profile. Now I look and I see now potentially, okay, I don't mean anything bad against tattoos and all that, and it's a tattoo low life. I'm like, okay, maybe it's like reverse psychology. But you get what I'm saying. And you have to profile, okay? Because your instinct will tell you that that person does not have good intentions. And oftentimes, that's really what you need, okay? So, we're gonna cover one more, here, sit back down. One more thing here, and then we will continue to go. So, these are just examples of setting boundaries and enforcing boundaries. So, it is where we are least certain, the less awareness you have, that you will suffer most. Okay? A good example is you get in a car accident. You got in a car accident because what? You looked to the right, you got hit from the left. You were unaware. You were uncertain. Accident. You looked left, you were certain. Guarantee you, probably you wouldn't have moved out into the intersection. And as they were crossing the red light and running the red light, it happened to him over here on the. You probably would not have put yourself in harm's way. Okay. I train every day. It's, I have amazing students, bigger, stronger than me. I'm great, fantastic. When it was icy last February, I was walking out from the back of my car, and the whole parking lot was iced over. I slipped, and I literally, when everyone fell on my left elbow, it still messed up, okay? I thought I broke it. Why? I was telling a student, be careful, don't slip. And literally 2 seconds later, I slipped, okay? Why? Because I was uncertain. I was unaware that there's ice there, okay? I should have been looking down instead of looking up. I fell, and it still kills me today, okay, on my left elbow, all right? Just examples like that, okay? Now imagine on a more grand scale what type of suffering uncertainty could lead to if you refuse to identify that guy as a potential threat and you just ignore it, and then he just takes you and shoves you inside of your own car and drives away, let alone because maybe he doesn't have his own car. Or maybe he wants your car and you say, you know what, well, here, take it. You know what I mean? That's it. All right. So just a couple examples. So if unawareness equals suffering, then awareness should equal not eliminating suffering, but minimizing the chances of suffering. Okay? So we have verbal self-defense and we have physical self-defense. Now, let's get to some actual techniques that I think that everybody can do. All right, so let me have everybody stand up, please. Now, everybody should